6.5 years after the Event Horizon disaster, there had still been no news. Most had assumed the craft lost. The matter had been shoved under petabytes of other safety matters the company had been dealing with. Nobody had any idea of the events that had unfolded on board the Event Horizon to Dr. Weir and Captain Miller. Few even really cared. Indeed, the Russian Space Federation, now a private research enterprise, proceeded to use and indeed now had its own shiny new flagship, DJATLOV, a D-class star transport cruiser somewhat less powerful than the original Event Horizon, but using similar technology nonetheless. Indeed, its gravity drive was now complete. It had taken 6.5 years just to catch up with details since the loss of its spearhead in Dr. Weir, but now it also took advantage of specialised dark matter encapsulates, a new technology which negated many of the sub-requirements of the Event Horizon itself. DJATLOV was ready to roll. Its Russian crew, headed by Anatoly Krasnovich, a recent graduate of the Russian Federation, set off to the orbital distance of Neptune, some 30 astronomical units, and prepared the launch to Luhmans 16 system, some 6.5 light years from Earth. It had been assumed in the Event Horizon report that Captain Miller had been primarily responsible for the Event Horizon disaster. Indeed, he'd failed to enact the comprehensive safety routine for supralight transport. Technically, the report had concluded that the distance to Proxima had not been sufficient for the complexities of the gravity drive, which was essentially a form of Alcubierre drive, and it had formed what was beginning to become known as an M-matter tryst, a kink in space-time that must have crushed the Event Horizon instantaneously and sent its remains far-flung distances from the Proxima system. Some had hoped that the black box flight recorder would have survived, but as yet, 6.5 years later, still no message had been received. Meanwhile, back on Earth, a confused account of Lieutenant Stark of the events on board the Event Horizon had at best offered confirmation of this tryst. The future echoes on board, the unexplained disappearance of the lower vessel, it all fitted the tryst explanation perfectly. Stark herself, however, now suffering frequent and incurable schizophrenic and paranoid delusions, had been living in section for her own and others' safety. Her dreams had continued to haunt her to this day. The events on the Event Horizon, the horrors that she'd seen. She dreamt. However, recently her dreams had changed. She continued dreaming images of a ship, a craft that resembled the Event Horizon, but somehow had a corridor on board that was of slightly different colouring, a slightly different shape, a cascading frozen body floating inside, just like the years before on the Event Horizon, frozen by the temperatures of just 5 degrees above absolute zero. Indeed, she dreamt a premonition of the Russian space explorer vessel, DJATLOV. It presumably had now reached Luhmans 16b, another Neptune-like exoplanet. Indeed, it had been felt by some the nearest safe planet to go with these new drives. The Proxima system was now deemed too close and within the limits of the system. Back on Earth, finally some news of the DJATLOV. 7 days late, some thought, but Federal Command received a weak signal coming from the Luhmans system. Presumably it was the DJATLOV signing back in. But the signal was weak and confused, the pictures blurry. The message could be heard. But nobody really knew what it meant. After all, the Russian Space Federation had outsourced all its comms to private firms who hadn't bothered to conclude they might need to speak Russian. It just hadn't occurred to them. Meanwhile, back on Earth, young astrophysicist Lucy Locke, a specialist recently graduated in the application of dark matter encapsulates, had been acquired by Netrovsky Enterprises and was routinely checking through some of the data, which again had been outsourced from the Federation, which subsequently had been recorded during the launch of the DJATLOV. She began to worry. Had she found an error in the calculations? A naivety made her reluctant to speak up, but if so, the possibilities of just this calculation, well, they were very dangerous, very worrying indeed. The danger of parallel transportation to another universe had been considered but brushed over by the company. Profit, after all, would surely be worth the risks.